inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. Some days I feel skinny. I
is, one of the reasons why there's so strong on it. So let's see if Navi is prepared for Liquid today.
Well, let's see if the preparation is looking better. I mean, this was phenomenal by London, an absolute trauma for myself, but that doesn't matter. And as we have already closed the chapter of London versus Spic, love for this brings us to another game that we obviously saw. That was Fnatic, and Fnatic was fighting BBL. It looked all dandy, all nice over there in Icebox. Ascent, that is a different story.
I mean, both maps were super interesting because they were just so different. Icebox from Fnatic was absolutely phenomenal on the defense. The combination of the Killjoy and Viper is just so strong that the opposing team BL just didn't know what to do with the first tempo pushes onto the side, because there was always a Natus swarm in combination with a toxic screen on the Viper orb, and because of that they were losing so much utility and so much momentum during those first opening rounds. While on Ascent, I feel like those games don't really happen often. There were 2 rounds where BBL just lost against themselves and not against the opposing team. We had a misclick on the defusal. We had a 1v4 situation with Bosa, who just won with a defragment and 2 flashes without actually shooting a bullet, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was crazy. It was not the best day for BBL. Let's see if actually Turkey gets, better luck in today, because they have a great matchup coming up.
Oh, well, they have a revenge against the Europeans, let's put it that way. But before we head into that, we can take a look at the standings, because things have changed over there. And as Group A and Group B had so far 2 games played over this weekend, a quick look is mandatory, because there have been a few changes. I can tell you that. There has been a few surprises. There have been some things we would have never expected. So let's take a look at that standing. So let's take a look at what has happened, because Group A, Kakuka, had something that was looking not so great for the Germans, but London is in the midfield.
Yeah, a little bit more balanced than what we see on Group B. I'm actually, surprised, but still happy to see FunPlus Phoenix leading that board. I'm actually really excited to see if Team Liquid is going to, come up onto that balance, or they're going to join big, running a little bit onto that relegation position.
Yeah, it's getting closer. It's getting more dangerous when we talk about relegation. Talking about Group B, Lothar, obviously this is where Guild has been looking phenomenal. When we talk about the entire standings, would you have expected it to look like that pretty much?
I wasn't expecting, of course, Ascend at being what won, but I wasn't. It's not like a super big surprise that Guild is playing well, right? The team did reform, and it's like actually now like a very strong unit. But winning us against Ascend is just the next step that they needed to take to be taken seriously by the entire community, and they succeeded at that.
They totally succeeded. I mean, it was wonderful to watch that a team that has been together for so short is actually that successful. But we are not living in the past. We're heading into the future. The matches that are coming on this wonderful Sunday, we are going to see right there, as we have some of the biggest organizations in our wonderful circuit fighting against each other. We're starting off with G2 versus SMB. Both teams have not found a victory in week 1. And the second thing is Navi versus Team Liquid. Navi successful so far. Liquid down with 1 loss. And this is a bit of a surprise, because we honestly didn't expect it to be like that. We honestly didn't expect that those bigger names are actually suffering from start on. The nice part and the good part is that we can have a few storylines for our first game, that we can have a few voices. So let's start off and hear what the players have to say between G2 and, logically, SMB.
Into that ult. At least he thought about it for a moment, but he thinks better. Waits a second, backs off, and Hoodie, he can see through this.
I think every Turkish player has really great firepower, and if you underestimate it, like the list, you're gonna rip your head off.
G2 diyebilirim ya. Bence G2, onlar da Kelox mesela. Onun bireysel performansına çok bağlı olduğu için ben o takımlardan fazla aslında korkmuyorum. Çünkü bir kişinin bireysel performansı, özellikle Jetso çok önemli değil bence. Hani onu dodge'layabiliyorsun.
Yeah, SMB, I mean, I think they can be really strong. They have very strong individual players.
Onun dışında G2 bence o kadar iyi olmayacak. Yani G2 kolay olabilir, BBL maçı kolay olabilir.
And if you want to watch more of those videos, you can easily find them on youtube.com/Valorant Esports. All the content, all the pieces, everything you want to see, you got it at one place. So don't be surprised if you are missing some action. You will find it all over on our YouTube channel. And let's be honest for a second. Last weekend, G2 was very cocky. This weekend, they were very humble, but not with SMB.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised, because we heard them saying Fnatic is actually our weakest opponent, or at least that's what they consider. I would love to know, where SMB stands on that, leaderboard.
Yeah, we're going to see how they stand on that leaderboard. But talking about one of our first teams that we're going to see, G2, a team that has not fully found itself, Lothar. Expectations regarding this game, expectations on what needs to be changed in your eyes?
The team is, G2 is in a constant state of a flux. They had 7 previous former players already on this lineup, and this is the newest iteration with Kellogg's being back on the menu, let's say it like that. And the thing is, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a very heartfelt interview with Nuki, the newly appointed IGL for the team, when he admitted that there were some, of course, tensions between him and Kellogg's, but they are fixed now, and that was actually super nice to hear how emotional and yet mature can he be and the entire team about it, because Kellogg's seems to be fixing his issues, and now they are like a full unit, but still, there's lack of cohesion when it comes to this team. When it comes to the executes, they seem not to be in sync. I'm old, I can say that. And the thing is, if they will fix their executes, I feel like this is such a strong team. They have insanely high skill ceiling, but the floor is barely touched.
When I think about G2, and I'm sorry, I'm hungry, it's like 3:30, this is actually lunchtime in Spain, I think of a salad, okay? Because we have seen great components on G2, okay? For example, Seek, tried, my watch also wants to take part in that. We see Seek that ended up in Ascent being a superstar. We now see Kolementa on Guild being a superstar as well. So to me, G2 does have, the power of finding all the key components. The problem is that salad, is probably lacking a little bit of dressing. And sometimes, personally, I wouldn't put apple in a salad, but it can still work.
You know what they say, right? When you want to make a salad, you need to break few eggs. Is that...
He's
right.
a dad.
So from Loafer's lab to Loafer's dad jokes or Loafer's kitchen, I'm not decided yet. We have to talk a bit about the sync thing you mentioned, Loafer, right? Because, fixing executes, that's crucial. But we're talking about a team that has absolute, one of the strongest in regards of manpower. What is it that you would more in detail see lacking over on that attacking side?
I feel like there's just practice, I guess, because they have all the components. keloqz is a fantastic player when it comes to the aggression that he needs to present as a Jet. But there's an example when they were still playing with Mixwell, many rounds where he was dashing onto side on the attack, but not side dashing, not checking a corner. That is costing the team a few crucial seconds during the execute where someone has to check the corner for him. And those things are still appearing from time to time. They're not always consistent. And when the team becomes consistent with the small things, but that's something that the coach has to do with the analysts as well on the team, work on those small details that have to be perfect to make those executes very effective.
Yeah, and last year I think that we cut them a lot of slack because, as we said, they went through a lot of changes. And probably one of the reasons that Mixwell was not shining on the Jet is because he had been changing from a Cypher to a Sky. We had seen him playing in so many different roles.
And then,
exactly. I actually like his Viper, but when you go back to the Jet, you have all the other players that have actually been improving on Jet while you were just changing and trying to adapt, working for your team. Now, I think G2 has had the time. I think last week it was just a rough start. We also need to, give credit where it's due. They had to go after being invited and dropping from the first open qualifier, go through the entire open qualifier, the close one, and making it here. So I still think, maybe last week they were not ready yet.
They were not ready yet. Time is a crucial currency when it comes to Valorant. We have to mention, though, a man that Loafer has highlighted already in the form of Nuki, as he, as the IGL, is a high performer. But this brings us to the question, Kakuka. There's not much time more to have more lessons as an IGL. Will he make it in time?
So the thing is, Nuki is a very experienced player, not only in Valorant, but in other games before. And the thing is, he's trying to be the leader of a team that has, as Loafer mentioned, been lacking a lot of things inside the game and individually. The thing is, if we talk about individually, Nuki is a star. It's a player that you can always rely on. But of course, I think there's a lot on his shoulders if he feels like he needs to micromanage and at the same time perform. I think it's a lot.
There were so many matches where if Nuki didn't clutch a savior around, when it was like a 1v3, 1v2, 1v4, doesn't matter, but somehow he gets a clutch and rescues the entire match. Those matches could have been looking completely different if Nuki wasn't such a confident player.
Confidence is something we obviously hear from him all the time. When we talk about interviews, you see him sitting there, not a very stoic person, but at the same time, he knows his job. And it's closing that chapter of G2. We've talked enough about them. We have to talk about the Turkish opposition they are facing, Kakuka, and that is super massive Blaze. And last week, you were there. You saw they're definitely not slacking around.
I mean, it's kind of unlucky because I don't think it's fair for them to go with that 2-0 because that Ascent was so close that they definitely, in my eyes at least, deserve it. So if you do not know this team for some reason, we met them last year. Of course, we see some changes. Brave and Easy are going to be the ones standing from last year. Insider, Glovey, and Chisto are coming in new. The last two coming in from Oxygen. Another team that we actually saw on the previous year having great performances. Now, is this team strong enough? They're literally top 1 in Turkey, so of course it's the best of the region. Individually, Easy performing as well as he was doing with the previous roster, and knowing that also those previous players that were playing with them are also, on the top of Turkey.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how we were talking about G2 with the former players, and SMB seems to be a very similar spot, right?
True.
Of course, not as many players as G2, because G2 could have almost had like 3 different teams, but SMB had, we had Pora as an IGL before Cider took over that pod. Now he's in BBL. We had Russ go to Giants, and also Glovey comes in from Oxygen. So let's stay with the kitchen's metaphors. It's like a big boiling soup.
It's a pokeball.
Pokeball.
That's fine. I would have said, it's always the
Healthy
same.
and good.
It's the same broth, but you changed the ingredients a little bit. That could have worked as well. We have to talk about one thing, Lothar, and that is for me, IGLs, because we've mentioned Nuki, right?
Yes.
Amazing fragger, amazing personality. We couldn't necessarily say the same about Cydrex, but he has different responsibilities within the team.
I feel like Cider is on the different end of the spectrum when it comes to the personal performance when comparing to Nuki. But at the same time, I feel like he has a little bit more responsibilities towards the entire team, and it seems like it's just waiting on his shoulders. He's a little bit more micromanaging, and it seems like the changes in the team were more complicated than for G2, because G2 has a better understanding of the micro element of the game, while the Turkish region and SMB in particular have insane aimers, but they have to work a little bit tighter when it comes to the actual aspect of the teamwork.
I think it's just different situations, because if we look at Nuki, we're looking at a team that was already formed, and that within the team, someone had to take the role of IGL, and was on the other side. We see a side that was picked up especially for his IGLing. So it's different responsibilities. We're not going to see Cider probably fragging out like Nuki, because it's hard to compare them.
Totally. I mean, he's a man who himself said that he picked up the IGL role because somebody in Turkey has to IGL. So he's done it in previous games. He's done it in Valorant as well. But we have to step to someone else who we saw basically being the broth of SMB, if we want to continue with that. Brave. He has done role changes. He has done agent changes. And he's looking quite solid for me, Kakuka.
Yeah, exactly. He's so flexible, and still, is able to perform not only with the usage of utility, but we mentioned it. It's Turkish players. Their aim is going to be completely insane. But I feel like he's been such a good strongholder for the team, and to me, it's kind of like the glue. Okay, we can call it the broth as well, but.
For the viewers a little bit, because maybe someone will be confused. This is not the same Brave that is now playing in Fnatic as well.
Yeah.
And there's
we
also
have a Turkish and
and there's also 2 Russes in general. So it might be a little bit confusing.
Aslan as well.
Yeah, and Aslan. Oh my. Yeah, there's they need to make something about those nicknames.
One is Aslan M4 Shadow. Okay, that's a
sure
major
you're gonna
difference.
call him like that during the game.
Please keep that in mind. I'm sure Panpok will call him just like that. But stepping away from that topic, we're heading into maps. And regarding last week, there was definitely one weakness we pointed out when it comes to G2. Lothar, when we talk about maps, when we talk about battlefields, where would you like this to end up in favor of G2, that they can say, oh, we won the veto?
Oof, that is very hard to say, because it seems like they have very similar map pools. Both of those teams, although SMB is not playing Fracture at all, I feel like G2 and SMB have a lot of similarities when it comes to the maps they play. But I feel like I would typically say, judging by the maps itself, one of the best picks would have been Split or Bind for G2, but at the same time, the compositions they play, they're not favoring G2 when you compare it to SMB.
Yeah, completely. And that bind that we saw last week is actually the map that SMB had lost twice before, facing Ascend, that everybody's going to lose against Ascend on bind. Well, so far, we'll see. But yeah, for SMB, I feel like they still need that other test, because they've been succeeding in the region. And, against Ascend, it's still, as I said, Ascend. I feel like G2 is very different in that regard.
G2 is very different and always comes up with a surprise for us. And talking about surprises, we might see surprises in the map veto, as we're about to head into that one, and we're going to figure out where is it all going to be played out. And as we see right here, Split, Haven, and Ascent. Those 3 are what we're about to get. Lothar, you just mentioned Split. Quite happy about that one?
Well, okay, so I'll explain why am I kind of lackluster right now. Split is G2's map that they typically played very well, but the thing is, they played with that beta comp that I mentioned, the same composition that Ascend is playing with the Omen, and there's a vast difference in efficiency when it comes to usage of that Omen in Ascend and in G2. Ascend is doing it perfectly with the way they keep up the pressure being done with one way, so on defense, and I didn't see the same kind of efficiency coming from G2.
Yeah, exactly. When they faced off against Fnatic, it wasn't the best. I mean, it does make a lot of sense that they're using this composition because before Ascent, it was Giants using this comp. And they were actually like 14-0. And then Ascent started playing the comp and they started winning everyone, including Giants. So, and now that they have Pipson as a coach, it only makes sense that G2 actually improves with this composition. So let's see. Otherwise, Lothar, I'm really excited to see your breakdown in comparison with what we saw from Ascent. As I was saying, against Fnatic, they won both pistols and they still lost, and they only got 2 rounds on the defense. Not looking the best, especially for this map. I know that you think otherwise, Lothar, but we're not. Oh yes, we are seeing surprises. We're actually, SMB is gonna go for double controller. Okay.
Yeah, Sister is picking up that one, and usually would have played Cypher, right?
Yes, that is true. The Zisto and Viper is something that they added right now, which is not feeling out of the blue completely, because one of those, let's say, fundamental controllers on Split in general with the Viper, specifically on attack, you're so efficient with Viper and Astra combo, because you can, with Viper, cut off the entire A side, have a lurk possibility, which is something that Cypher was already doing, but he had to do it only once, because the Cypher cages are 1 use time only, right? When Viper can just recuperate with the fuel. But and Globey here on Astra can control mid, and which is something that's SMB is putting a lot of attention to, because they're, just to make a small comparison, G2 is super fast on executes. Typically they plant in 15 seconds on A or B, while SMB tries to go for mid and control the space there.
Well, talking about controlling space, controlling the cast, that is going to be the wonderful Panpoc. Lads, we already have our little sheet ready. Let's give us some nice little overtimes delay. We're looking forward to you.
A great little start to the day, I think. This is looking like a nice little matchup, pretty fiery, honestly, Mike. Looking at these two teams, I think it's hard to ignore the firepower and the potential.
Yes,
I think
it is.
a lot of people will get excited by that prospect. But beyond that, what stage are these teams at in their sort of evolution, I guess? Where are they building towards? Are they deep into that process yet from what we've seen? I guess on paper, the results don't look too friendly, but again, they did have some pretty big opponents.
Yeah, I think both teams, but well, we're not suffering is the right term, but they both had a first opponent here that you can't look down upon, right? And actually, G2 coming away with a 2-1. Yes, it didn't overall the series feel great for G2, but that's a positive in my book. Against take a map off Fnatic, who arguably probably one of the strongest, right, in terms of individual performances, obviously with the addition of Brave. But starting off on Split's going to be really interesting. The composition is it's interesting for me again. This is pretty much an all-in from G2, right? There's a lack of an initiator, and I think actually Avova having a rough series previously. Now that he's on the Omen, he's kind of particularly with the changes that we see going back onto the Rays, having the double duelist. Avova doesn't really become that anchor, right? He's not really the backliner. He's the only real tool they have to open up here on attack, and that I don't think it's suited him recently. If you think back, and he's like that backline player for G2, and always good for 1 or 2 in tough situations.
Always going to close. Yeah, I always used to love that role sat with him. I think he was a closer. I think he can clutch up. I think there's always a chance with him in that. But yeah, if he's not in that role currently, that could be an interesting factor going forward. But we already see the things get underway. So it's going to be SMB on the defending side and G2 on the attack. And already, beginning.
Clove still here, but Meadow's going to find Cydo X on the way out. 8 HP now in a frenzy. Difficult to find anything at this distance. Might find a GQ1 ahead of that. Brave actually will find 2 here. Comes to 1v1. No way, Brave!
Yeah.
What?
Brave. Huge impact. How did he get that going? Talk me through that post-plan, because it looked like outnumbered, outgunned, and really in a pretty traditional spot, not going on like some ratty lurk or anything. That was just, I guess, solid aim.
I don't know if G2 maybe thought, yeah, we've dealt with everything here. They're going to delay this rotation a little bit, but actually that challenge from Glove, just as the spike is being planted, he gets the freebie onto the back of Meadow, I believe, where I don't know if G2 are reading maybe some pressure coming back through Heaven. You see the 2 backsturned here, and Brave absolutely punishes that. Landed all 3 headshots, actually. It's Brave going huge to bail them out. Wow, I did not see that one coming at all. I actually assumed with Globe being down on 8 HP, maybe Brave was going to come through and be first contact there, but pacey challenge back from SMB, and pretty quick for G2 as well. Like I said, this composition is fairly all in with the lack of an initiator. They kind of do have to death ball, so maybe planting the seeds. SMB's mind. Looking a little more spread out here. G2 gonna push and pull, see if they can find something.
G2 looking for those picks. If they can try and maybe make SMB sweat a little here, that'd be ideal. But again, you've still got that rifle in the hands of Izzy, so even this mid presence, it's going to be very hard to break. As long as he can work off the back of Brave coming in and keep buying time, keep showing presence, keep noting where G2 are going and where they're trying to lean towards. Keep all those eyes looking towards Brave, and that's where you can see that rifle swing on out. So a nice little pinch potentially. Now there's the danger. Actually, a big shot from Hoodie. That is gorgeous work. And SMB have to respect that to maybe a lesser extent. They do fall away, they give a little bit of room, but they re-aggress, and they get it dealt with. So, yes, the rifle was dropped for a mere second, but that can be recovered. And the final player has already been noted. So Nuki doesn't probably enjoy being toyed with like this. A dangerous man to get fired up, and that's why, look at this guy go. If he does get into it, don't test Nuki too much, because he normally passes with flying colors. And there it is. Dealt with in the end. 3 players found, but the rifle remains.
Good damage, yes, rifle is recovered, but force a lot of repurchase. I'd actually see if SMB even try and ride this through as a bonus, so to say. The setup here, just a little bait in, but Hoodie quick with the trade here, and sure really how he's able to get away with that second one here. We'll have to see what the purchase will look like. Yeah, looks like they're going to try and ride this out with just the Vandal, Spectre, a couple of pistols to buffer that out a little bit. Where we've seen SMB get a little bit proactive. I'm seeing a 3-man stack towards A, maybe just to clear out main pretty early on. But as expected, G2 get a death ball through Garage. Probably try and explode after this slow.
Yeah, nowhere to go. It's already towards the site, gonna have safe passage, at least to the back corner. You can see he's still sticking around, and a little bit awkward on the timing there. Kind of caught utility in hand. Follow-up as well. SMB not really finding anywhere to make impact so far. Again, the players of the Spectre and that rifle going to be leaning over now. One towards Heaven, one CT. Spike down, though. 5 standing for G2. Killox, lovely work there. And that rifle not finding clean ways in. Toying with him now, and Izzy knows it. Time being bought second by second. And yeah, even further now posted up on board.
Tyler and Izzy settle for a couple of X's. Whether or not G2 are going to give anything away here. Little trap wire to deal with. And Tyler actually walks straight into it. Will be punished. Izzy definitely going to try and hold this rifle with the purchase coming in. I found it. And actually in these early rounds, what I'm looking for is that early aspect of conditioning, right? If G2 are stacked up and every time there's contact here, it's fully invested, right? Everyone's behind it. They're really going to test the macro understanding of SMB, right? This is all to kind of test the waters, pull these rotations nice and early, and whether or not actually we see G2 lean on that a little bit towards the back end of their attack in half. Here, you're going to see the same sort of setup again, 4 stuck outside Garage. You have a little bit of utility over towards A main. This time around, adjustment with the Viper utility actually over on A site. But, I mean, the trend continues, right? It's looking all in once again for G2.
And for me, I think a couple more rounds, maybe not even a couple, probably this round, if it's not identified, even just by looking at this comp, it's going to be a big problem for SMB if they really don't address this soon. But Glove, should be trying to buy time here, and he's done really well. Actually, back's turn, going to open up for a freebie. Nuki going to be punished to the 4th. That is sublime from Glove. Unreal presence.
Well,
and I guess that's how you deal with it. You go all in, put one man against an entire army.
One of them's just got to go huge and find 4 kills. That's how you stop this all-in comp from G2. And a spot like this is where you got to argue. The first, sure. Nuki's the only one in a position there that the double trend. I think he's trying to paint shell towards Hell, maybe. So, maybe a little lack of discipline on the way in there.
This is where, when it comes down to things like that, when the mayhem strikes a little bit and the panic, not necessarily panic, but it's more intuition than clear comms. You can't call that. You just got to hope that everything's kind of the right place. Players are looking where they should be, clearing angles that they should be, and it's all considered. But G2 looking a little flustered by that. Let's see if they can recover quickly, or if SMB can pull this scoreline even further away from them. A lovely confidence booster there for Glove. As you said, if they were going to be deathballed, run over by, and break the spirits pretty quick, but that's one way to instantly correct momentum. And that's G2 looking for a little bit of mid-presence to begin with.
This is what I'm looking for as well, the adjustment of Cider's positioning, and actually, speaking of that, SMB immediately on the offensive here. They want to stop this sort of pressure in garage. Nuki actually will find Cider on the swing, but Brave quick to trade. G2 will know they have a little bit of space towards Heaven here to backfill.
Oh, and Avova trying to readdress that control, the push out as well, because he's left there with the spike. And Avova's HP is so low, it's not even showing on the UI. So he needs to be bailed out here. And Cider might realize this. He turns around in time to at least find Hoodie. And now Zistow's got the cross, or at least he will have the cross as soon as they try to attempt it. Meadow and Avova gonna try and remove some of that vision, force their hand, TP through towards site and get that spike down, hopefully uncontested for his sake, because that HP, it's not pretty.
The Orthef gonna get popped. They have the info, whether or not SMB are gonna try and force their way through here. Actually, you got to argue with Avova down on 5 HP. It's very much doable for them here.
Last player standing.
But Kellogg's still good on the cross. Gonna catch that and at least bring it down to one player. This will be hard to isolate.
Yeah.
Just in his mind, maybe he's cleared backside well enough, but he's going to double check. Really diligent work there. And has he noted Meadow? I think he has. Tries to dip away, get it to half. He knows there's enough time for at least to get it to this point, but he has to now body check it. He's got to swing it, and he does.
Done. Beautiful.
That is how you systematically take down a 1v3. That was perfect play coming out from SMB.
And again, one of the most notoriously difficult crossfires to break here in a post plant, but I'm not sure really. There's no counter swing. I mean, Meadow's position doesn't really stop the swing. It's one bullet, right? It's 5 HP on backside.
Yeah.
Really tough there, but I guess with Kellogg's falling, that's really where that post plant hold falls apart. You two will stack up against just Sheriffs this time. Showstopper, Blade Storm. Expect that to be invested here.
Get out of my way.
See how it looks. You're on the money as well. Two front runners leaning forward. Showstopper not going to quite find what it wants. Is he still sitting pretty? 100 AP cross. Potentially noted before the flash popped. Another Eaton there. Nice flashes actually coming out. Really buying a bit of time here. But you can see the spike's going to be taken towards site. The sneakers have come out. This is madness. And it's going to be a massacre. Brave this time wants his name up in lights. And he's going to find 3 of them. G2 left in tatters. Hoodie going to do what he can, but it's not enough. SMB looking unwavering so far.
It's really interesting to see. Actually, this kind of setup on A is leaning towards retake, right? That wall that kind of just divides site allows them to clear out hell, everything towards main and ramp. But actually just go ahead of the tempo here. Maybe even catching G2 off guard after initially they have to respect that Showstopper, the Blade Storm on the way in. But it's well handled. They're playing deep enough where the paranoia doesn't achieve anything. There's a snake bite towards main. SMB looking well structured here to deal with. I guess they're expecting the same thing, right? Some of these pacey hits, and I say again, round 7, it continues. Viper's pit towards mid this time around, so Brave going to be the front man here on A site.
Up and over. Brave. Don't get too ahead of yourselves now. Still going to play a little bit more cautiously than that. G2 very capable, but hitting that quick tempo over towards that A site. Spike now down, and they've got really comfortable post plants. Big information sitting towards rafters, deep as well. They're going to be fine. They'll know that no one's nearby, at least for now. No steps heard, no one noted. The last 3 players notably sitting towards mid or that B site, so they know there's a fair time to be bought here, and SMB would be walking into the dark. This honestly could just be a save at this point if they really wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, they're very, very conscious of the possibility of overs somewhere in spawn, so it definitely slows this rotation down and eat enough time up that it would just hold on to the 3 rifles. We will get themselves a flawless round here. And this is the thing with rounds like this, where within the first 10 to 15 seconds, it's a done deal. There's no real opportunity. With Brave being left to put in a position where, you know, unless he pulls a glove, finds 4 kills on the way in, it's sort of a lost cause there. Ultimates wise, actually, Blade Storm available for Izzy, Cosmic Divide available, nothing on the cards for G2. But that flawless victory built himself up a little bit of a cushion. Actually, Izzy the only anomaly here in terms of the money. And we go again. We're stacked up, amen.
Saw that quick come out before, but it could be Izzy this time leaning forward and actually does best Kellogg's on this. Utility goes up, essentially the wall gets put into place. They have to counter this with their own, so early investment of utility on both sides. Leave them a little light potentially for the post plant, but SMB gonna pull over rotations now. 4 players are already here for the defending side. Yeah, one's I guess towards a little towards vents, towards ropes, but already looking back towards middle, potentially maybe questioning where Avova may be, which is the correct thing to be doing, but now G2 going to take the territory towards ramp and try and test this, but there's 3 players on the other side. The wall will cut off 1, 2 more there. Cyderex the first challenge and they succeed. Hoodie going to find him. And Brave going to try and slip away slightly. The pressure starting to mount, and actually Hoodie's found another integral impact. You can see the wrap coming in as well. Avova's cleared a lot of space. This is going to instantly quell most of the hope for SMB. It leaves it all on Izzy's hands. Now, they're still being cautious. That spike hasn't crossed the site yet. They're aware of this man's presence.
For the possibility now, we'll find another over there for the trade. I think this pause for thought is just to allow Avova to fully wrap through to screens, and really that slows this round down. Obviously, Brave and Glove don't want anything to do with this now. And this is what I'm talking about, the first few rounds now. Avova's going to be in a position to do this time and time again. Again, all he has to do is post his paranoia. That ultimately, you know, if everybody else is noted, they're like, yeah, it's 5-8. Avova just walks all the way into spawn. Maybe to wrap to the backside of heaven. You two already, I guess, trying to take advantage of that conditioning factor. They're creeping closer and closer here, but as time ticks away. Yeah, I was going to say, oh no, they're just looking to maybe find a kill.
Could be good for the exits.
Brave could actually punish from ramp here.
If much comes of it. Yeah, Brave's the one who's going to be trying to linger for it. And you can see Avova was considering it, but now Brave misses that opportunity and has to just stay alive with his rifle. They'll be moving away with 3 standing for G2. The round, of course, and SMB with 2 going forward. Glove and Brave.
They actually could have thrown the slowdown onto the gravity well there and made sure that they... I don't know if that was just Brave not wanting to reveal his position, but he threw the slow anyway. A little bit strange there, but... I guess at this point, you know, the economical damage isn't going to make an awful lot of difference with how much G2 have built up, but force those repurchases, especially if you're dropping rounds like this.
I'm looking at Izzy this round as well. Ops come out to play for him. Ready to deal with any of that lean towards A if it was going to come through, but I do want to see how G2 adjusts this round. We've seen a couple of quicks come out from them where they've just bounded through a couple of early exchanges. They did see Izzy last time push up a little deeper, get that first pick. And Flash confirms his presence there. And just going to ensure Izzy to stick around that second longer, finding Kellogg's and giving them that player advantage to begin with.
Looking now though, SMB actually send Brave back towards B. They're actually acknowledging that there's nothing behind that hit now.
Pulling them in, obscuring vision.
I think I've seen it. Yeah, he's definitely seen enough now. Nuki trying to just dance around it, but looking a little vulnerable. Hoodie's gone down, but the trade out's perfect. Nuki, look at this guy. Where did he get? I don't know where he got the second from, if I'm honest. But again, you could barely see that player, Izzy. Connects the knife towards Avova, leaving just Nuki and Meadow alive, making just Meadow on the swing out, and it's not pretty at this point. That's a stunner, though. The follow-up, the control. He's trying to spray, and Meadow, no shot. He's got one more. Oh, and it looked so possible. And Izzy just crushes their hopes.
It was right down to the line, and that's how these rounds, you're expecting them to go between these two teams, just trading back and forth. You got to credit, though, SMB. They're not really biting on the rounds. G2 now are trying to build that paranoia, you know, sell a little bit of a fake on the back of Kellogg's, which in this composition, you got to assume is going to be the front runner, right? It's the one to really create some space. With the lack of that information, G2 come into most of these setups blind. It's a dash on with the paranoia. It's a double satchel in. G2 really trying to lean on SMB over-rotating and reading too much into it, which is why I look towards Cider. You see he sends a flash through, actually, towards A main there. the confirmation on the back of it, and it didn't force an over-rotation. Now, actually, around 10, G2 have to now explore things like, okay, we have to deal with the wall in mid. We have to, show a little presence elsewhere. On the back of that mid presence, they clear through B main. Now SMB have a really good understanding. It's going to be A.
And Izzy isn't backing away. Wait, he's skipping around. Oh, okay. Just deciding now to peel away from that. Doombot does get invested. Actually tanks the damage on it and still no one peeking behind it. He was dead set
adamant
on
getting a
that
kill.
Yep. I kind of like that. Just so willing. Meadow, did he just know the player falling away? I think he might have spotted one kind of dipping towards CT, but it's the exchange of control. You got Ramp and a little bit of Heaven, and Pillar and CT taken over towards the site. But again, Avova, always a constant nuisance. You have to be keeping him in mind.
Try and lurk once again. Did invest his paranoia, so big indicator here. But 18 seconds left. G2 slowing down here.
And actually a quick punish onto Nuki. That's a problem. Flash to CT, they know he's there. 10 seconds now. Spike needs to go down uncontested. Zisto. Ooh, that's going to sting a little on the other side, potentially. Yeah, Hoodie going to just about get away. Not too much punishment on the back of that, and an interesting use of the divide here. And Avova still. He knows there's a time limit on this, though.
They still have the retake wall. So I'm interested to see here if this actually works out for SMB.
Oh, Hoodie's not liking what you're saying. Avova does finally get caught out, though, but it's Kellogg's there on the trade. Back down to a 2v2, and there's Zisto waiting on the site. He'd been there the whole time, watching this all unfold, almost powerless to do anything, and as soon as that availability came around, look at the damage he was able to achieve.
And so well played. G2 actually just have to tuck their tails and head away from site, and at that point, it's... I mean, they're spamming through the wall. There's no guarantee that they're going to be able to stop that defuse. See Meadow actually punished immediately as he tries to get some damage too. Position noted because of Vandal. Two crisp headshots actually to close things out there for Zistel. I'm really impressed with SMB's defensive half so far.
I agree. It looks very well rounded.
The consideration for Avova as well. You can see Brave actually still aware of the possibility.
I love the fact that Brave and Globe had to respect that, but they still look involved. They still look present when necessary. And speaking of present and necessary, again, the impact coming out from Zistel. This guy, 2 huge picks, instantly going to take away that front line potential damage coming through from G2. And now you have to look at what's remaining. A little bit of split apart, not looking ideally suited to this. Avova now going to have to potentially deal with 2 if he wants to try and keep Ramp safe. Actually got himself a dirty little angle to work with it potentially. Spider punishing Kellogg's. And this looks par for the course. SMB looking unbothered thus far. And Avova, there you go. Pixel now spotted on either side. And danced it out, but the wall drops. And Izzy will get the punish, leaving it all into Meadow's hands. 1v4. He's got the time on his side, but no teammates still stand. The flash towards the back of the side, trying to force the turn. He's going to see one pass. Claims a second. Instantaneous trade for Izzy. And I am
so
really
clean.
impressed. Yeah.
Again, at face value, you have to make a few assumptions about this composition for G2, and straight away you could see the intention in those early rounds. But SMB just, they haven't folded. They're not giving sights up for full retake. They're willing to, greet G2 at the front door, try and go 1-for-1, which ultimately in this comp doesn't actually favor G2. But potentially losing one of these duelists, it completely slows things down. And again, late round, there's not an awful lot to work with. There's no sky flashes that come back online. There's nothing really to find any information in a post plant hold. And I think SMB have adjusted perfectly to that. They're also maintaining pace with G2.
100%. I'm super impressed with SMB. And not in just the way that we expect, right? Everyone knows that they can frag out. That's not necessarily the impressive part. A couple of players that, they look good for sure. But it's as you said, it's that be able to match or not even match, but kind of counter the looks coming out from G2, playing it really well, looking like a collective, not looking like individuals here and there. I'm, really impressed by SMB. And again, we dive back in, and I want to see how much money's left in G2's pocket. They should be able to fashion a purchase, but I think a couple will suffer indeed too. Kellogg's and Hoodie, but Kellogg's can pop the ult, so he should be okay.
You say that without with how the last few rounds go, there hasn't been an awful lot of utilities burn up. So it's almost like with this purchase, it's just shields and a weapon here. 2 sheriffs, yes. Res online, Blade Storm available for G2. Hyperspit this time around invested on 8. The flash in going to confirm nobody close by. But not side is going to preemptively, yeah, you can see him now. This presence in mid is shown. He's considering this rotation.
Ooh. They've handled this mid presence quite well in the past. We haven't seen too much success through this as a collective. Flash, no swing. And again, last time around we saw that kind of push towards the extremities. No need for it thus far. Brave gonna decide to fall away. Probably the right choice here. And Nuki trying to lead the pack, but he's already been dealt with. Izzy, you can't get away from him. He seems to be on every single site every time they try and make a push. And look at these angles, so difficult to work with. Glove pushing in towards main, in towards this lobby area. Ovova can't quite clear him yet. He probably will now. Yeah. Shot to the side of the head, but already the damage is really making it difficult. Siderex is coming around now as well, but player advantage now with the rest coming in. Izzy's going to deal with it, but the trade comes in. But he's still there and still able to operate even with just the sheriff at hand. Siderex has found a nice bit of timing. Oh, if that adjustment came in. It was such a thin margin, but it could have happened. Now a 1v2 of Ovova. Still lingering around. The angle's so good for him to get first contact. Very well played by Ovova in the end. Finds that position that works so well. And we'll at least get another on the board for G2, and a necessary one at that.
But I gotta say, that was a commanding defense from SMB.
Very nice.
Even from the get-go. And the question now, it comes back to this composition for G2 on the defense. It relies on basically the same thing, right? Nuki and Kellogg's have got to be good for theirs. Meadow's going to have to hard anchor a site. I'm interested to see, really. It's almost like now G2's game plan suits SMB better on the attack. And with the tools that they've got to work with, it might even be a little bit of an easier time for them.
It really could be. They've a lot more to facilitate the plays coming in to supplement them. So I do want to see what they go for here. For now, 4-1 split. A little bit of a mid lane, actually. From Siderex. Draws out the early paint shell. And the orb will be collected. So no contest on that so far. And actually very little contact so far. It's a kind of a... Would you call that a triddle, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's looking triddly.
It is looking triddly.
It's on the bingo card, by the way.
You're welcome. Gonna drop an MP49 next.
Nice.
Nice. For now, though, Brave still trying to test out that middle side of things. And again, you can see the HP's looking a little worse for wear for Cider. But while this happened, there was a lean elsewhere. They took that contact in middle. They've gone for that A-side lean, and it puts it down to Ovova, who's been pretty stoic in nature. He's normally been quite good at kind of collecting those unfavorable situations. This time, though, not to be the case. Spike will be safely planted. Two players still trying to work their way through middle, and you can see Cider. Oh, that's a big amount of information, but he oversteps it almost. Maybe didn't expect to have so much success, but Nuki will find him. Now a 4v3.
Comes going to elbow, clear a little bit of space. Kellogg's actually will find one on the way in. Globe has to find his now. Hoodie will fall. That's it, the crossfire working it. Brave again. That's huge in a pistol round here. It comes to 1v1.
And Nuki's read it. He is on the case, but keep your mind on the time, and the shot is divine from the man. Nuki, always a danger. Always a danger to be up against, but again, SMB almost making a round out of that. That felt like it should never have gone towards that extent at the end.
Still actually times his lurk perfectly as well on the back of that mid presence. And the wall invested. G2 lean away from it. I think Hoodie puts his wall down in heaven.
Ooh,
just to reinforce a site for Ovova, or at least prevent any flank coming through from heaven. But Zistau timed that perfectly. Actually avoids the paranoia on the way in as well. But you're right. Vectors across the board here for SMB. Why don't they try and slow this down a little bit? It looks like they might try and address mid once again. I know with a deep cam early on, though.
Tagged.
Did I spot 1 or 2? Potentially 2, because immediately Hoodie's come this way. I love this. I love that. It's always like pin the tail on the donkey.
Yeah. The donkey's still tailless for now. Cam's still sticking around. And you put a lot of, not pressure, but a lot of eyes should go towards Meadow as how he fares in this, right? Because he has to, as you said, potentially control a great deal of these sites and do it to an extremely high standard. And so away we go. Working their way in, there's the cages, there's the wall. So a little bit of a trade out here, but the cross can be seen, can be noted. Meadow going to catch at least one, and actually gets the punish on Brave too. Izzy with a trade out as Meadow does go down at the back of the site, and a follow-up as well from Izzy. The man's just unchained at the moment. Pushing aggressively. I love seeing these Spectres utilized like this. Now Avova with one of his own. You can see the positioning from Glove. Does Avova check on this diligently? I mean, the man's always seemingly a couple of steps ahead, and he does. Lovely work from Avova. Now has to address the site itself, though.
Got the paranoia, but 70 HP. SMB definitely have the advantage in this scenario.
Cover going out.
Where are you going to send it, Avova? Well, that's
Money.
quite a good spot, isn't
It's
it?
money.
He's on the money, absolutely. And now just about coming out of it, though. Zisto is still fine. Vision now recovered. He's just trying to stay alive. He's trying to buy time. He's in danger. He's been backed into a corner. And again, G2 closing out a couple of these rounds that are down to the wire, but SMB looking a little flustered in that at the end. Thought he could have had maybe a bit more impact in that, but no. Bonus, well, not going to look so dangerous anymore, but the Force Buy almost had him on the ropes.
Really did. And Meadow actually has so many things to worry about. This set piece was actually really clean from SMB. The snake bite actually just onto the steps there next to Hell. Meadow has so few positions to play. And actually, it's lucky that he's able to break a hole in the wall early enough to find a kill. Otherwise, I think he just gets overwhelmed for free there.
Oh, they're desperate to break this. They're going back in with Sheriff, still a bit of armor around it too. Izzy, back towards middle as Hoodie's gone exploring this time, and the timing. Oh, it's Hoodie's favor. Say goodbye to your head. Left down in the sewer. SMB showing a whole lot of presence towards B and zero connections for it at this point.
Well, actually, we'll slow down, but again, the fact they have to deal with it gives some information across to G2. The smoke actually to follow up, so they want to reinforce this mid hold. Another Triddle.
Very popular these days. Ooh. Not as punchy this round. Not looking as dangerous yet. This Glove actually popped off. Not gonna happen. Nuki's dealt with him. And now Brave and Zisto. Trying to find a little bit of their own timing here, but you can see Avova's intention.
30 seconds left.
Keeping check on this, making sure no one can freely get towards site, but also being aware of the potential wrap towards heaven. And there it is. Pixel noted. Cool made. And doesn't want to over-peek here and give too much away. Wait for some reinforcements, and actually does feed. 13 seconds now. And there's the support coming in. No worries. Kellogg's is there.
A real threat with how deep the feed was.
Not really. He's fine.
But Avova's actually got so much to worry about. When G2 lean away, and you can see how much emphasis there is on mid. Here, yeah, Avova spots the cross. But the rotation comes through so quickly. As long as G2 always have somebody, either ropes or, I mean, the adjustment would be putting Cypher's U2 up there. You can see the spy cam adjustment now. And a heavy stack towards B, which isn't what's on the other side of the barrier.
No.
Well, this is early commitment here, but it's actually a showstopper down mid. Key information, whether or not Nuki will even find a kill on the back of this doesn't really matter.
You gotta be saying, get ready.
No way.
Get ready on the other... As if he still gets it. Meadow knows he's in danger, but look at this sweaty little setup. Oh, it's ratty from Meadow. That's not fair. Oh, he almost got the follow-up as well on the Spectre. That is absolute rat business there. And Hoodie's shots are on the money today. G2 coming alive in the second half now.
They've tied it up. G2 just looking like an immovable object right now. SMB unable to really find any point of weakness other than that B site here. I don't want to say it's felt a little flat here on the attack so far for SMB. The thing is, every round that G2 wins, it's almost like confidence boosters, right?
Yep.
Either one person is clutching up, finding, trading out 2 for 1 on a site, or you've got Hoodie just, I don't really want to see Hoodie running a rifle, to be honest with you. He's landing shots with the Sheriff today.
Just give him that. Sheriff only.
SMB will call themselves a timeout to reconsider, because at this point, I don't think anything's worked for them. Again, you can hit the site Meadows playing solo, but again, all you've got to do is somebody from G2 just has to find a little bit of damage on the way in, and things fall apart for SMB. That recovery factor just isn't there for them.
But I also do want to kind of look at how G2 have been playing their defending side. It seems very reactive, that kind of a lot of pressure is put on the likes of Meadow and Avova on kind of, the polarizing sites, but the Triddle is fluid. They're instantly rotating, they're in the right place, or they're pushing down middle. We saw it in that round where you saw the Showstopper come down instantly through, still finds, I think it was Glove that Nuki got, which is unreal. But I want to give credit to, off the back of a bit of contact, they're always in the right place for it. And now we see how it works this time around. Bit of a split coming through from SMB, a 3-2 so far, and there's the pressure in middle again. Hoodie makes the contact noted. Gonna have to know that Nuki's around there somewhere.
Doesn't eat you this
Managed to
time.
at least, evade a little bit of that damage.
Kellogg's already up in heaven. Be drifting that way, as now we're seeing SMB go back to the early protocols we saw G2 have to consider on their attack. Deal with this mid wall and try and find a little bit of space on the back of it. Force G2 to hold mid.
Okay, that's quite
Quite noted, yeah.
Kellogg's having the time of his life down here, just surrounded by enemies. But Nuki again makes his appearance. Good trade out for Izzy, but again, the trades are so on the money so far. There it is, a little bit of vengeance. Is Hoodie gonna taste a little bit of his own poison on this? Moving down to the 2v2. Cider. If he'd had that.
And the neural
Never know
theft.
what could have happened, and there it is. Neural theft gonna find the final play up, and Avova heat up for it. No sweat. Put them one step further.
I love how Avova actually leans forward to teabag. See on the player cam there, just
You like to see dedication on a teabag.
the lip curls. He leans right forward to his monitor.
Yep.
There's dedication to the board right there.
You don't want a half-hearted teabag.
No.
Just going through the motion.
That was really unlucky not to fight. I did think it looked like a headshot, but it didn't seem to do an awful lot of damage onto Nick. He just kind of tanked it. But this is an important round. Nothing really left after this purchase for SMB except for the ultimates, and you got to argue they should be investing some of it here to get themselves back on the board. G2 have taken the lead. Ace available. Avova's got his TP.
I've got your trail.
Beakers will come in. Will discover Meadow. The Trailblazer to follow up, actually. Meadow can just give this up now.
Spotted in the corner in CT. Izzy has to be quick on his feet. Move away. Pop down a smoke. Look towards those rafters. He knows there's going to be presence, but he can't quite note it yet. You've got Nuki up there. You've got so many players so close by, but Spike can go down. And actually, Viper's pick going to come on through as well. So going to make this a little bit more difficult. And actually, Izzy gets away now.
You are divided.
Everything getting thrown in here. The Cosmic Divide as well. They are desperate to get back on the board to stop this momentum. But if anything, grand scheme of things, this is a win in terms of the investment for G2, regardless of the outcome.
The Divide lets them drop down and get onto kind of even footing here. Unbeknownst by the others, but still Brave just holding the line. Deals with Nuki and Hoodie. We're gonna have Meadow now presented the winnable but unlikely challenge up against 3. And you're right, they invested everything, but at least they get the round for it.
Everything except the res, yeah, it is. So this is effectively blank canvas. That's what it takes to put a round on the board. And actually, yeah, you look at G2's economy, I'm surprised by that. It's what have they been spending it on? Okay, well, the operator in the hands of Kellogg's now. or really with anything left to write home about here is Avova with 2,700. SMB can build on that round victory now. Again, straight down mid. This is such key early information here. If they find Glove, this is terrible. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And look at this. Instantly ready. Instantly prepared. Rez comes in. Actually, Nuki up and over. Oh, he still gets Brave as well. Hoodie by his side. And Izzy's 26 HP. Oh, dearie me. What'd you do with this? Team flashes the lot. It's not looking good. As G2 are just spamming away the firing squad on the other side. And Avova doesn't want to leave this too long. He wants to done with, dealt with, and to move on. G2, resounding victories now.
It's just crazy how quickly G2 respond to that. Again, the one person you don't want to fall, which is Glove, indicates that he's lurking away from the play. And immediately, look at his response. I mean, Nuki, just absolutely no secrets about this. Then the satchel over the top as well to add insult to injury. G2 just deathmatch through this. And SMB just can't find anything on the way in. Now they're back down to pistols. That round victory meant effectively nothing. They invested everything now with the res being pulled out.
Yeah, their ult progress is in the bin, isn't it? Damn. Oh. Early contact made. Is he going to try and cut through towards the site? But it wasn't just one player on the site. Avova was there as well. The ace up the sleeve at times. And Nuki, this is just, it's a wall of a defense. Look at this. There's no steps to be made. None. Quick rotation coming in. 3-man stacked towards the top of ramp. Cider X. The Sheriff in a dream, and that dream's gone. Meadow takes it from him. G2, yeah, I mean,
we said this right with this composition. It requires G2 just fragging out, right? Having a good read, early information. The only tool that they have really is a fact finder, other than Meadow, is obviously that boombot, right? And we're seeing Kellogg's walk down mid with an ARP, finds a kill immediately on the back of that. The rotation comes through. This is almost just zero respect play from G2. Literally, they are not paying any respect to SMB.
No, and SMB need to kind of kick them in line, right? Punish the over-aggressors. Keep control of mid. There's the flash. Going to force Hoodie away for now. Draws out the wall. There's a lot to address, though, if you did want to, let's say, deal with that mid presence, right? You've got a lot of players potentially to draw the utility out of, go through the motions, and hope that, you know, Nuki doesn't just bang out a headshot, right? Like, there's still so much danger to this, but it has to be on the protocol list. It has to get up there. Already Cider X going to be trying to challenge this. Doesn't get that much information, I don't believe, off the back, and there it is. Nuki finds a headshot. Don't know where that was. Probably through smoke.
Was, yeah, bottom
really?
mid. Yeah, literally through him over smoke.
And again, didn't quite do enough to keep all that attention there, but you can see the lean now from Nuki coming up towards that A site, but we know what Meadow's hold on the site looks like.
Meadow's just got this geek set up again. Don't push it. Don't push it.
Look at it.
Push it.
Look at it. Look at what it is. Oh, and Nuki's got the ult ready. They're finding no access points, right? They're not even getting past the starting blocks on some of these rounds. They're struggling.
Oh no, he's healing. No, Brave was healing. Okay.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Oh, Nuki hit that though, didn't he? They've just come alive on this side. When confidence hits G2, they are a formidable team. Truly. Now Izzy, he's trying to play his life, keep that up in play if he can. He's already been heard. Avova potentially trying to cut him off, if anything. See if he can make it around in time. And Izzy just trying to stagger his way back. Keep the off in play. Which he's been able to do. So,
wow,
this feels like a very quick game.
It does. It's fast-paced. G2, like I said, they're happy to just go toe-to-toe with SMB. And again, it's the sort of this setup on A from Meadow. Again, it's just intended to find one kill. It's just to trade out. Worst case scenario, bring it to a 4v4. But the rotations come through so quickly again from G2, where Meadow doesn't feel any pressure at all.
Yeah, it's so impressive. We go again. break the wall. Slow comes out. Waiting to see when Nuki shows his presence. There it is. Vova follows with the smoke.
I was going to say, if he dies to that, that's... yeah.
And mid's just not... It's so unavailable. But by the time they hit the sites, the rotations have come in because G2 have great read. They're finding information when they need it. Now, last round we saw Nuki sitting towards this side of things. Not there this time. Sitting over towards mail room.
Satchel out.
Nuki. Looking for anyone out of place. This does look like it's going to lean towards A, and Meadow's probably aware of that too. Is he now seen? Left walking and living on 30 HP, but it's not much, and they're sticking in mid a little longer this time.
Jet grounded.
He will punish Izzy. The operator removed,
And there's no trade.
Nothing comes through.
There's no trades here. G2 are playing a gorgeous defensive half here. And I don't even want to say SMB are doing anything drastically wrong. They are being manipulated and moved around by G2, and I've honestly quite enjoyed watching how this is played out. It's not your normal split defensive side. I feel it's the very, very clear-cut look to it. Brave trying to make his run for it, but, well, let's see how much you got, Brave. I have to live up to your name here. 10 seconds, and an army against you. G2, 13-9. Hypoc, this was a very good-looking G2 coming out today.
It absolutely was. Just playing with absolute confidence there, and almost using a lot of SMB's composition, the indicators against them, right? I mean, I don't want to say critical, but I was apprehensive for what we were going to see from G2. It relies a lot on, well, I guess, from a personality standpoint, G2 are known for these individual performances, and, put them in a corner, they're good for theirs. But on the attack, just as soon as contact found, any utility is noted outside of maybe Glove and Zistau, G2 immediately collapse on it, and SMB just didn't find a way in there. And I praised them for their grasp on the macro on their defense. G2 didn't even give them a chance to even find any understanding of how to approach these rounds. It's actually really impressive from something that's just so bread and butter, from G2.
Yeah, I'm more than happy with this look on split. From I don't want to say both sides. I'd like to see a little bit more from SMB. That first half wasn't necessarily bad from them either. It was quite nice. It was relatively robust. Haven will be SMB's choice. So considering this was G2's map pick, not a bad performance. I am going to assume we are ready to go to a break, so we're going to head on over there, and when we're back from this break, the analyst desk will be talking you through everything they've maybe been impressed with like we were, or maybe they have conflicting ideas, who knows. We do have that to be coming up, and then of course Haven on the horizon, so do stick around.
Informed, then it's best that you stay informed.
Let's say business as usual, as G2 once more brings a split all in their favor. Well, when we're talking about sides, when we're talking about decisions, when we're talking about attacking and defending, we're going to break that all down because there has been a clear tendency here, Lofar, that when we talk about G2 starting, when we talk about G2 attacking, there's one thing that definitely stands out.
Just before going into the match, I just said one sentence. Typically, G2 is attacking the first 15 seconds on A or B and just pushing in.
Those were your words, yeah.
And that was literally happening for the first 9 rounds. Well, sorry, 8 rounds. It was so predictable that it's not a surprise that G2 lost the first half 8-4, but at the same time it feels like SMB could have just take advantage of that even more than that. But I have to say it's not gonna sound negative, but it was an ugly match to watch when it comes to fundamental level of play. There were so many gaps that appeared, like so many heroics had to be done by Nuki and Avova to get G2 back into the match.
So we got two different, of course, playstyles, as Lothar was mentioning. G2 was refusing to do anything aggressive on mid and not taking that map control. But of course, SMB is something that they're going to rely on, you know, bringing in that double controller. And I think the performance was okay, even though having so many super close rounds, depending on clutches on both sides, it's just not a clean map. I mean, it's not that it's ugly, it's just not clean because we know that these teams, you know, can give us some more. And on the side of G2, when it came to the defense, I think that they were just doing what they know, just putting all the pressure. You know, you're playing the double duelist. Keloqz was performing super well with the operator. To me, it's also scary the amount of rounds that depend on Nuki's showstopper. For initiation, it doesn't matter if it's on side when they're attacking or even on the defense to be extra aggressive and play with that control.
Yeah, there was a lot of, let's say, dependence being put on one player or like emphasis on one player performing well to stop the initial push. SMB had, fortunately for G2, giving G2 a lot of space when it comes to the defending, because we have always seen SMB just attack with one player. There were almost no trades. We have seen Brave just go alone, then tie without anyone being behind them, even though there are two players just right 3 meters behind them, but no one is trading. The Viper wall on Heaven wasn't perfect. Like it made them like not peak with the confidence they should have been. That there was some really small stuff from both teams that could have been easily fixed.
It felt a lot like it was a lackluster attack for both parties due to the fact that, you know, it was that, let's say, cohesion missing to a certain extent, because when we talk about things like you mentioned, that Viper wall, for example, and also when we talk about the opportunities of taking actually revenge duels, like, you know, refragging, that didn't seem to be the case for both parties there on a fundamental level.
Yeah, I mean, when we were doing the intro for G2, right, one of the main let's say, critics towards the team was not the personal prowess, because as you can see, those players are insane.
Yes.
All of them were hitting absolutely mental shots. But when it comes to the executions and the way that you play the game strategically, there's either just too much focus being put into, like, we just push 5 men here, or we just go for defaults and we don't really do any trades or double peaks. And it seems lackluster because those players, all of those 10 players, are capable of doing such an insane stuff in the game.
And to me, it also comes down to the nervous, the feeling nervous, the having the pressure, because some duels is not only that they should have lost, some rounds should have been won by the other team. And when it comes to the mid-round calling and making decisions when the spike is down and working from there, I think that both teams were kind of, unlucky into that, but G2, especially on the defense, didn't even have to deal with that because they were just pushing in.
They were just pushing in. I mean, it was fast towards the end. Talking about something fast, we got a quick segment. Lothar, time for you to head over to the
Am I fast?
You have to be fast right now. Go over there.
I thought I am fast. I'm like the slowest speaking person in the universe. I wanted to showcase one setup being done by Cypher on G2, and this is where Meadow has like a cool setup on one way with a Cypher cage that was very effective in one round, which resulted in fear being put into SMB. And now, when you're gonna pay attention to this round here, when he pops his Cypher cages again, SMB exactly knows where the opponents are, but they cannot push in. It's just impossible to go into this setup, so they are all stacked into A main, and that allows the showstopper to be just the tool to stop the entire push, because now not only they cannot go into the side to get into the position, but also being pushed out by the showstopper. It's a very strong setup that once showcased how efficient it is, and I think Meadow got like 3 kills during that round in the first time. Now the opponents are like, well, we have to wait the Cypher cages to just blank out, and then that's the second wave we can go in, but they're being stopped then by Noki with his utility. It's a very efficient setup, but I was hoping that I could get some clips from the one ways of Omens, but not this time.
We were literally in the green when I was like, Lothar, listen, you just did that segment on how Bone Cold uses the smokes. Let's see if we can do a comparison. But actually, we didn't see I think that Avova plays it in a way that he uses his TPs a lot. He's always changing the position, and he uses the smokes in a more aggressive way. We can call it like that, and to work for the rest of the team, as Bone Cold is just going to be a strongholder.
Bone Cold is a strongholder for Ascend. It wasn't pretty much the same approach we saw right there from the guys of G2. But talking about a man, the name has been said a million times basically on this desk. It is Nuki. By the way, Kakuga, I'm sure you know this is the IGL, by the way, with 353 ACS.
Yeah. I mean, he only plays race right now on this map, so probably on the next one we're going to see him on the Sova. You see that he has 353 ACS on race. It's going to be the same on Sova because this is a player that you can always rely on. I am not surprised because, as Lothar said, he is the one where everything is going to pivot around. I think he ended up with literally no assists. If Nuki goes for you and he gets the first one, it's very likely that he's going to find at least 2 more.
He had 244 average damage. For me, ACS is like not a certain statistic that showcases a lot, but when I see the ADR, it's very one-dimensional of what is happening in the game. If you get over 200, you have a really good game. That's very simple.
It's the crazy part, right? Because, ACS is one thing, but that, like, basically nearly 2 kills per round, it's absolutely insane. So we're stepping away from the close range fights over there in Split to the wide open areas of Haven, as this is the second map that we are about to witness. Obviously, this is the choice from SMB, which makes it a bit of a different battlefield, right? Because it has been a while since we saw G2 play on that map.
Yeah, exactly. And for the side of SMB, we can understand why they decided to go for this one. They have played 5 this year, of course not against Europe, but in the region they have been very, very successful. 5 out of 5 playing against the big names and actually choosing this map just because of all the windows of opportunity that you have, especially on the attack. As you said, for the side of G2, I think that they got the experience because they played it a lot during the open qualifier and the close. I think they lost it just once with Kellogg's. So of course they do have that experience and probably expected to see this map against SMB as well as Ascent.
And you know what's funny is that Sash just said that the map is so different from Split, and yet G2 plays it in such a similar manner because they ignore mid control almost every round on attack, and they go for the extremities, so either go C or go A, and also very fast. So it's again a little bit predictable. We have both teams playing most likely the Jet Breach combo, which favors going fast, right? You want to use the fault line to get space on the beginning of the round, maybe combo that with the gravity well, and then Jet in pushes with the smoke, with the side dash, getting info, and you just explode on site. Now the question is SMB good at stopping that kind of aggressiveness?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're going to have the Astra as well, the Killjoy. They do have means to stop all that aggression if we add that also to the Breach. Now, it is scary because for G2, Kellogg's has to be on top of his game. Nuke is going to be playing from the Sova. Again, it doesn't matter because it's Nuke and he's going to hit every single shot. The damage is going to still be there. But we need to take into accountability that G2 decided to start on the defense. And that is actually pretty weird. Not only because, some teams are better on the attack, but SMB is especially good on attacking on this map. So it's very concerning, but if they know that they can have the upper hand since the beginning, we'll see.
Maybe that's because G2 is self-aware that their attack is lackluster in general, right? It's just about the manpower. We push in, we, as Hypox said, death ball, right? The opponents. And it's very fitting. So it might be a bit of self-awareness coming in from G2 here.
But what I was going to say, that especially on Split, we see a G2 that is extra aggressive on the defense and is really willing and looking forward to take those duels. But maybe on Haven that can, not going the same way, because Nuke is not going to have the same mobility as he has with Raze, and obviously not the same utility.
One thing I would definitely highlight when we go into this game is there's one thing that is kind of unusual, not a big major upset, but a thing we obviously see with G2 is a Cypher instead of a Killjoy. On a regular basis, we would say it's more of a Killjoy type of map. You can deal with the damage there. Cypher's not too present. Personally, Lofa, do you think that is something where SMB hypothetically could struggle, or is it something that is just, working as usual?
On paper, I would always say that Killjoy is fitting more to the composition that you play, specifically with Breach and Astra. There's so many combinations that you can do with the lockdown. Like when you retake A, an example, on defense, you can just fault line the corner of Long and then aftershock that. But if you don't have a Breach, you can always do that with Astra, with the stun and the pull. And you have so many advantages, or so many small things that you can combo. With Cypher, that is not possible.
I mean, I do think that you have very good combos with Cypher on the defense, because just one trap Y and one Astra smoke, or just one pull, if you actually manage to get that through with all the smokes that you're going to see on site, it could be very valuable, and Meta is really good at it. And I think that there is no changes, nothing that is upsetting us here from either of both teams. Of course, is Meta going to be on the Cypher, Kellogg's and Easy on the Jets. No surprises here.
Yeah, it's essentially on paper what we have been predicting. It's the same composition apart from the Sentinel player, one being Killjoy, one being Cypher, and it's essential to understand that Breach is so crucial on this map to gain early space. With combination with Astra, you just guaranteed to control one of the lanes. And on a map like Haven, where you have 3 different lanes, controlling the space as defenders is very important. This is why an example Gobi was playing the long, like you just explained at the beginning of our broadcast, he was playing on long A so many times on defense, but if you're predictable like that, your opponents can punish you.
Well, Nuki doesn't play like that, but he definitely is much more different, and he's always going to be swapping around. I want to see Hoodie on that Breach. I need him to perform. I think that he did a great job on Ascent last week.
He did a great job on Ascent last week. He just did a great job right here on this battlefield. So this brings us to Haven, and so it means Pansy, Hypox, let's go.
Yeah, let's get into things. No more messing around. Let's speed up the process and get into the map. That's what we're all here for. We get to see these 2 incredible teams throw down now. After map 1, has that changed your thoughts coming into map 2 potentially? Has there been anything that's kind of indicated a change of outcome, or do you think this potentially still sits quite favorably towards SMB? I would, at least on paper, lean that way, but where do you sit on this?
I would. You've got to take into account that is a demoralizing way to lose a map, to just basically be met at the front door, and this kind of brawl that ensued. I think Haven, actually, when you look at the way that, I know Lothar was touching on this, yes, expectation-wise, G2 play pretty similarly. It's very reactive, it's very frag heavy. On the side of SMB, I actually want to see them now just fight fire with fire. They definitely need to rein G2 back in, keep this kind of proactive defense in check. I'm already seeing, actually, just as we wipe the game now, a pretty heavy stack towards A on the pistol. So G2 once again going to look to kind of mark their territory, right, in these early rounds. We saw that very prominent intent, at least on Split in the first half. It didn't really take effect, but I mean, with the defense, it didn't end up making a massive bit of difference. But the key head-to-head here comes back to it, the age-old, it's Kellogg's Izzy. Izzy has got to be the power player here for SMB.
Okay, keep note of that. Let's see, Izzy. Let's see if you can live up to that standard. It's easier said than done. You've got some very capable players on the other side that are tailor-made to take you down, but there's the first contact, and away we go. SMB, of course, starting out on the attacking side, and there will be G2 on the defending side. However, looking at the way they're getting aggressive, G2 fancies getting proactive themselves, and it's quick. The amount of time they've spent to get here is actually not a great deal. So early scuffle to be found, and it's actually a 1-for-1 trade out, so it's not too disastrous for either side just yet, but it's going to definitely draw their attention back away from their early plan going forward. So G2 right amongst them, and you can see it. The damage potential was there, but SMB meeting them toe-to-toe, and you said we needed to see that. We need to see them be able to deal with this proactive defensive side, and so far, I feel as though they've done that, and I quite like the fact that they've got a player a little bit deeper on the site. Glove there going to be able to kind of navigate past a little further ahead. Spike going to go down, but Meadow, unchecked on, does at least get away with one trade instantaneous. Good work to keep him in check, and now Avova not going to have the time of day to be getting away with anything there. So SMB off to a good start.
G2 literally just walk out and take a fight with them in their spawn. Initially, actually, in the damage trade-off heavily favors G2. I'm not sure if it was Brave, I noted, but after Cider X falls, somebody's down to like, sub 5 HP. But this is definitely what they've got to keep their head on a swivel, because I think G2, well, again, looking at the minimap, it's exactly the same setup.
Again.
Exactly the same setup. Whether or not they're just going to force their way through. This time around, a little bit of an adjustment from SMB in terms of the utility, maybe to slow this advance down. But again, denial of information with this smoke. Yeah, I whether or not they expect them literally just to force this engagement.
It looks like it's going to be Brave's job on the other side with Cider X. Okay, there's the contact. Maybe playing in Brave a little bit on that corner.
It will be a flawless round 2 here for SMB. And whether or not we then just see SMB adjust now and anticipate this every single round, something I definitely don't want to see them just play cautiously, because I think the pace definitely suits them on this. I mean, actually watching back that appearance versus BBL, they were very, very happy to just play some of these, deathmatchy rounds. But it's the pace that suits them. So I don't actually want to see them. I don't want to say be scared, but pay too much respect to T2's kind of reckless playstyle in the early round.
I think that's a really good way to summarize an approach to this. I think for SMB, I do want to see how they balance the utility approach as well. If you've been tested a couple of times early on, you may want to try and invest a lot of early utility, try and clear that, but not for now. They still have those Spectres remaining, but a couple of rifles, bear in mind. SMB, this isn't a completely light purchase. This bonus has actually got a bit of weight behind it. I'm already losing a player. Not ideal for a beginning. And certainly a different look, but keep your eyes on the likes of Hoodie, for example, taking a lot of space and relay a lot of information. Keep these two players kind of on the extremities of that piece. Right, there's the ult coming in. Kellogg's has to fall away a touch. Forced back, and Izzy trying to capitalize on it, but couldn't quite get there in time. Got to be careful now as Meadow isn't too far away himself, and a couple of players noted on the B site, but no punish off the back, and there's that flank coming in, and Blue's one job, and the timing, he slipped the net, and you can see exactly how that's happened, and Hoodie might put together these pieces going, he was not even considering an option of that. He was fully having faith that someone had my back, and that not being clean now for Glove is a problem. This unleashed them. This is all fallen apart by that one bit of timing. They got under their skin completely and utterly, and as much as they can try, it's all on Glove to try and do something with this now. And a 1v3, not got the angle, not really got the utility, not got much of a hope. G2 going to get across this with 3 still alive, but if that flank had been watched the whole time, even just for a call, it could have been a whole different look.
Definitely good. He catches that kill. It definitely slows down the retake. And ultimately, they get control back of double doors, and we're just outside on second mid. But that's adjustment there from G2 is... I really love the use of the reactive gravity while they're on the back of the Rolling Thunder. It's actually really unlucky that Izzy doesn't find that kill on Kellogg's, because the setup was great. That gravity well just outside spawn on A-Link, it's really, really well put together.
Oh, this could be a little bit of a crunch towards A. You can see it being set in. Kellogg's trying to be propped up for success. Doesn't get as much as he wanted, a little bit of chip damage, but he's done at least a little bit of impact work. As Izzy is going to start building towards long, and again, you can see the early rotation from Hoodie coming back around. Get a call in, I think Nookie as well actually is coming over here, so enough of an indicator has been shown they want to put a little bit more weight behind this A presence.
Spike not committed yet, so this is SMB just kind of trying to get a read for the setup. Dealing with the trap wire, that should put, yeah, Nuki now has to come back and make sure that nobody's going to drift through onto B site. But still presence being shown with utility by SMB towards A, and Spike now drifting this way. As I say that, though, Hoodie...
I feel like Kellogg's is going to peek
Yeah,
this.
Hoodie's a little deep, going to flash in Kellogg's, but he's punished for it.
Yeah, not quite quick enough on this, and now Hoodie's in danger. He's all on his own. Yes, you're going to have the support coming in from Nuki eventually, but can he do much with this? Yes, actually, the utility going to deny it. Just a little bit of a slowdown on the way up from the ramp. You'd see that tucking on the corner could still do some damage, and it does. Nuki with one can't double down on it. Brave, brilliant work towards the site. Going to take control, and now the spike can be planted safely. Zavova and Meadow can't really have much say in the matter.
Themselves in a 2v4 now. A couple of players tagged up, but nothing really work on. They're here pretty early and unnoted as of yet. There's nothing to really tell them to come out, but the Natus form actually going to force Zavova out of position. Stour with the second swing as well. Beautifully cleaned up. SMB now 3-1. Attacking half, and a good start actually. You're going to put G2 back on, well, a questionable investment if they do, but it looks like it'll just be Sheriffs. You'll see a timeout called here. And I'm surprised actually with how it looked in the first and the second. Yes, you could say it's a throwaway, but G2 almost respecting this early round from SMB more than I was anticipating, and obviously the buy rounds are the ones we look towards. To be capable of slowing things down, little things like going and dealing with a trap wire, waiting for, you know, some of these variables that's going to break the setup of G2, right? Make them consider other sites ahead of this utility investment. But it's actually, I mean, G2 coming around to their first full ultimate cycle. Blade Storm available, Brave actually 7-2, but this will be his second Rolling Thunder. He's one off.
Yeah, he's been absolutely farming this. So
such crazy. Yeah, we're in round 5.
Yeah, he's having an impact and a half. So not bad work for him. And again, I'm not too worried about this round necessarily for G2. This is probably just not a throwaway as such, but it's the buy round, as you said, that we look towards to see the kind of adjustments coming out and how they want to approach this. Maybe just a little bit of a mental tune-up as to how they want to see these rounds go down after having some tangible results in the first couple. Whereas SMB have set the bar quite high already. You can see there's a nice look to how they're approaching this. Not going to be overcome by that aggression we saw coming out early from G2. And yes, for now it is a stack. Meadow's going to be in a whole lot of danger here. Does manage to nip away in time, but Izzy's on the hunt, and now Izzy's seen a whole lot of players. That's going to be a call and a half coming out from him. Plenty on the side, but no one really dealing with them. And it's just Cider now in a 1v2. They walked into the stack maybe a little too confident, a little too aggressive, and now he's in danger. He's got players, right players left. He gets one. Oh, he gets the second as well. Just not keeping it in check, because that could have been a disaster.
A little bit of a fumble, actually. G2 had done the hard work and actually countering all of these rifles on the way in with the fault line, with the gravity oil, and actually the owl drone tag on top. Somehow Meadow is still alive through all of that. Again, no real possibility to retrieve the weapons and make that 2v1 as advantageous as possible. I thought actually there's a chance there that Meadow can land a little bit of damage with the owl drone tag through default, but opts to wait for the double swing, but it's a little bit mistimed. SMB kind of getting away with that one. I'm going to say they were in a position to really be punished there.
Gonna rattle you a little bit though, walking to a stack like that. It doesn't feel fantastic. Doesn't feel a little red, but they should be fine in these rifle rounds. Whole different approach now coming in. 3-2 lean towards that C site.
Get out of my way! Off your feet!
Oh, popped and working off the back of this. You see them taking that side control. Counter comes in though, so going to slow down the roll a little. And isolate Izzy towards the back of the site, but I'm sure that fight will come in nonetheless. I don't think there's any pressure coming from Garage that could actually deny that. Really trying to handle one over towards the middle. That would be lovely. That would be high on the checklist if they could get it done, but it's not to be. So far, not much denial on the spike going down here. There it is. That's Hoodie finding the impact. The timing was great. I really thought they'd be so paranoid about that presence, but there's a response in kind. Glow slips in through CT, and now they're stuck in the middle of Over and Hoodie. Uncomfortable positioning, but well read by Hoodie again. Noting that player earlier and finding them again. The Glow, unrelenting in approach, but it's Hoodie excelling in this round.
What a round from Hoodie. I mean, and so much pressure comes through. He has to be constantly aware of the possibility Zistow's going to backstab him, but I gotta be the crossfires weren't in place. There's no contingency here on site. Without garage control, Hoodie absolutely makes SMB pay for it. Just one extra body. I'm not sure that it was Glove, right, to make his way through mid into C-Link. If they just double challenge garage there, I feel like they win that. They're trying to plant on default without garage control. It's just.
Yeah, it did feel. I mean, it was pretty chaotic. So maybe a little bit of a losing track of player, losing track of presence. It does lose you around at 4-2. But the buyback in, look at the state of it. Meadow still on a Spectre, Bulldog for Nookie. Going back into this, SMB still have the better purchase.
B opt to slow things down once again. We'll creep down towards A, and the problem is this slow approach is going to suit Kellogg's very well. He's looking as if he wants to get a little antsy here. Bladestorm popped. Actually, we'll find Izzy drifting into the smoke, able to get away as well.
I'm very surprised he was able to get away as he looking on a chopping block. This guy is unreal. He's doing this with 5 HP and he's being such a problem. He's trying to buy so much time for this. He allows a little bit time for the reaggress, but it is going to still be a 2v1. It's possible for Brave. Let's say if they give him that chance, that opportunity to strike the line up. Not this time. Meadow going to keep control of over there. Rifle now upgraded and Diffuse going to come in.
Put themselves right back in this. One round separates them. About now, you're expecting Zistow to have the lockdown. I'm not sure I did spot it. Yeah, he does. The Cosmic Divide and the lockdown available. Brave, I don't know how. Almost back on another Rolling Thunder. 2 away. Cider X also on the brink of that Hunter's Fury. So an important round here. I mean, I'm noting that overinvestment on the previous map. SMB, on one round in particular. Again, scoreline is a factor to consider. It's not as heavily weighted. Sheriff's and a Spectre thrown in. Bit of a step change here from SMB. They want to get right down into sewers pretty early on.
Problem is, on the other side, I'd still say Nookie is there, and he's been really very solid at making a nuisance for himself. Still good for 2. To buy a bit of time for reset coming in from Kellogg's, but he does get punished for it in the end, left on a bit of an island himself. The 3v2 is more than feasible. The rifles have come through. They are recoverable, and Glow's actually got himself an op as well.
And Meadow's got a dirty little cage, though, to drop out of heaven with.
That is true. But this... Oh, it's so dangerous. And actually, a lovely little counter. He's going to buy some time, predict the drop, but overwhelmed in the end by Hoodie. But again, these rounds are close. They are close in some very unique ways, but recovery made by G2 op back in the hand, so that should at least kind of carry them through financially, but it is still 4-4.
A little variation of the setup as well. Now noting that Meadow obviously is rotating sites. He obviously invested his Cypher util here, which is always just a dream. Again, Nookie gifted the first with the trap wire. The second comes through as well. I think onto Izzy as he tries to wrap round onto default. Actually, on the back of that, SMB have everything except the Blade Storm in this round. Nookie, one away from the Hunter's Fury. Again, they do have Hoodie, so can't counter the lockdown if possible. But SMB looking to continue with the pace set in that previous round. And 2 players noted on A-Long, so should be an indicator for G2. Kellogg's actually so close there, close. Avova's the one to swing it as well. That was such a weird encounter. I was thinking, who is that on the X-ray? I was like, almost got my colors mixed up there, but it was actually Glove holding close contact.
You could see them pinging out, assuming it'd be a little bit deeper than that potentially. I don't think anyone expected to be on that corner, but it could have. It's actually a bigger problem. Nookie, this guy is such a. Honestly, watching this guy play, he is such a nuisance to play against. His positioning, his timing. Problem player for sure. And Kellogg's caught sleeping there a little bit. Zistow going to take the space that was granted to him. And maybe not expecting progress to be made there, but a little surprising in that regard as now a 2v3 as Nookie and Meadow called upon, and it'll be tricky to displace this post plant.
The Braves fault line should be coming back up, which again will slow down that first tap. They have to draw this out as well. Nano Swarm's on the spike. It'll slow things down as well. Oh, I don't want to see that investment. No, he's actually going to slow the lockdown in here. Not sure about that. Necessarily,
not much.
Yeah, not needed in this scenario, I don't feel. Or make Izzy pay. Maybe just try and hold on to this operator. Yep. I guess secure around. Make sure they can take the lead here. I guess it's also a fact that Nookie's now got the Hunter's Fury online. They don't necessarily want to rely on an execution shaped around that lockdown, right? Because it can immediately be destroyed. And like I said, with Hoodie's utility as well, as soon as there's a breach in the lobby, you have to consider adjusting some of these lockdown placements.
That's a very good point. So maybe a little more considered, or it slightly depreciating in value over time as soon as that becomes available. So, as said, I guess if you want to secure the round, sure, do your thing, make sure. But it did feel as though that was kind of sewn up anyway. But 5-4, we did see that op recovered. Let's see what they do with it. Now, on the other side, it's a walk again. They're both walking down long. This is really high on the checklist. And this time, a massive reward. Like noted, another player found Avova. You don't get to mess with him twice. Gets vengeance after that first round. Now Nookie gets to unleash, this time focusing more just purely to drawing blood. Does find Snyder, and Izzy insists now this could be a full pass, but Izzy sharp on the chop. Do it more, not going to get it, Hoodie. That's nasty.
It's with a running gun, man.
Horrible.
Inside the aftershock as well. Just down now 70 HP. Noted with that Hunter's Fury tag. Kellogg's and Rover just remain posted. Actually, a swing and a miss from Kellogg's here. Oh, no more.
It's whiffy. It's whiffy. It's whiffy.
Okay. Any more? And that's actually a disaster considering the circumstances. It was kept in check. All things tied up now. SMB able to string together a purchase here. Is he actually one off the blades on whether or not he's going to drop a weapon across, and they go for an orb, with G2 showing so much presence on C-Long. That C-Long orb, which is the safer of the two, might seem a little intimidating here to pass a weapon across and try and get the Bladestorm online.
I feel as though right time for the timeout as well. You can see the string of rounds have started to appear for G2. Maybe time to try and address a couple of these, see if they've got anything left they want to bring out for these final few rounds on this first half. Because I've got to say, low scoreline like this, try and pull his up his map choice, bear in mind.
To overperform on the will once again
love risotto. Yes. It's they are.
What the result of that is.
All right, 5.
Well, full investment here on the side of SMB. Call it full. There's a Spectre and a Bulldog. And that is not going to leave them in a good position for the final round if they lose this at all.
No,
I would have
it's not.
rather
And
seen a
then-
little bit of protection of the economy. Yeah, well, confidence is a factor. I don't know. Maybe they're feeling themselves now, but that last round,
You got to back yourself, right?
But you think about it, next round, potentially they come into this with a Rolling Thunder and a Blade Storm. So actually, they're going to invest more.
Pull this through, and Hunter's Fury going to come in. Over forced to he was forced forward and still got Izzy. Oh, that's going to just take the wind out of your sails. But Glove, you've got to get that luck just right. You did it before, you can do it again. But do they keep track of it this time around? They seem unaware. This could be his moment to shine. 2 players on a platter. It's everything you dream of. That's the impact you need. And now suddenly SMB take the reins in this round. Avova trying to fill that void now. Play back in through on CT, and Glove so aware of it. The shot so quick as well as Kellogg's forced to back away. You got to respect that. It's game time, baby. We're going to be having SMB looking lively in that round. And that flank alert from Glove was just so well placed.
Well, it's literally poetic, right? Izzy dashes onto C-site, finds the one kill that's going to enable Glove to do some real damage. It's Meadow that falls. There's then no flank control, and actually no real... Literally tunneled onto C-site. Glove absolutely makes that work. As the thing, actually reacting that quickly to it being Meadow that falls is really key to SMB's success in this round.
Last round in the half.
Hats off to Glove there, and actually hats off to SMB making that shanty purchase work.
What did you call
Shanty
it?
purchase.
Is that like a quasi-buy?
Quasi-buy.
Yeah, nice. I like that. You've been working on your words. 5,
Word
6.
of the month.
Oh, I was really tempted to start crowbarring words into casting so people think I'm good at my job, but haven't gone down that bad just yet. Got months to get through though, so there's a chance. And we look towards the A site as SMB are doing something very similar. But it's not like it's unnoted by G2 on the other side, already going to pull through 2 players, and Nookie, large and in charge as ever. Puts out another though. SMB know that they're up a couple more players than they'd expect, and Kellogg's finding Brave and no trade available, no pressure coming back in. They've somewhat stemmed the bleed here.
Okay.
Until
well,
that. Distal can just move and shoot. The man's playing a different game right now, and Kellogg's is now under so much pressure. He's got 3 players just leaning into a tight overcompensate from one. Avova has his back, and he even has 2 kills. The man is always be the safe pair of hands for this type, but he does get outdone eventually. How much could he have done on his own? Not enough, Meadow. Cider gives them that buffer they needed. We said it. This was what that timeout was for. Try and get those final 2 rounds in, and it does exactly that.
That pace change a few rounds ago, I think SMB really investing fully on that. You think about the previous round with that hasty hit towards C. Really noted Izzy finding the one important kill that really brings the full picture together. Here, Cider just happy to stand and face. This is the thing, if it goes to trades and it doesn't go in D2's favor, it's hard to recover a round like that because there's no real contingency to this playstyle, right? It's we win our gunfights and the round's ours. But you actually weather the storm on their attacking half. And I'm intrigued now to see G2's approach because I do think it's going to be fairly linear and reliant on the very same principles.
There is that almost candor to it, isn't there? It's quite a heads-up play almost. And you're right, I think there will be an element of a mirrored aspect, a little bit of a different element as to where they push, but SMB will make that push nonetheless as well. We heard it before, but G2 very aware of the possibility of it seems, keeping 3 players essentially back by spawn, leaving Avova on a solo exploration mission. He's off towards C, and Kellogg's just threading around this map, trying to trail the timing so nicely in G2. Untraditional fight, but winning them clean enough as Brave left on 22 HP and a lot to work through.
Oh, this will be repeating, I guess. Offense is the best defense on the pistol round here as Kellogg's will close things out. Oh, almost reminiscent of the first half pistol round. Immediately the push down mid from SMB to try and greet G2 in their spawn. Everything goes right for them here. Of course, we did see that on the previous map from SMB, but this time around, circumstances a little different for G2. Actually going to put 3 rifles on the board, 2 Bulldogs and the Phantom. Spectre for Kellogg's and Avova. Actually, yeah, going to reconsider that. Maybe just swap out for a little utility on the side of Meadow. Actually, I think the full shield, sorry.
I love we talked about them almost a mirror in certain
Yeah, 'cause now they stack
aspects, how
C.
these two might play. Yeah, how fun. It really is quite poetic in that regard, as we do see the spike coming in. They've gone for that B lean instead. It's supposed to put Kellogg's in a little bit of a predicament, but he's got the boys watching his back. Nuki's right there, most nonchalant in approach. And that's the thing with Nuki, he always looks so calm and collected, but so much thought goes into everything he does. There's Kellogg's now. Gonna spot out at least one. Not sure if he noted the other. I think Killjoy's just tucked around that corner as well. Tap on the spike. Should at least draw some attention now. Draw some utility to follow.
That should burn down the time on this smoke as well. Gravity well just cycling through everything. Make sure this smoke will drop. Ooh, actually Brave.
Lovely shot.
Okay.
Oh, shame no one else could weather the storm at the same time, because it felt like that pinch timing could have been quite nice there. Pull the attention away in the shot. Lovely as well, but now Brave's going to have to face the music. Again, value for money.
Goes down swinging.
Yeah, man made a fight of it.
And again, a round like this is just a good demonstration of damage mitigation, right? They don't want to contest the site. It's this hit and run on B, which you do pull off time and time again on their attacks, especially on those round 2s. There's no real chance for SMB to recontest mid with the weaponry they have. There's a lack of utility. There's so many factors here that just make this a safe bet for G2.
And I look at these teams, and they're just vying for that upper echelon between both of them, and they're just on that cusp as well, I feel, constantly with these two. And considering they're in that, it does look very much like it. Zisto has to respect this to an extent. I don't think he can really dissuade this too much. Dogs does get the spike down, does get out of danger. Now, SMB this time will be quicker on the trigger. You've already seen Brave find Nuki, so that's going to be a big bit of impact found. 4 players very swiftly towards this site. Kellogg's is in a whole lot of danger. Again, this is the bonus. You can see the perk coming in from G2 is very light in that regard, but no danger really found yet. SMB working through this. Navova, your last one alive. Gonna make a go of it. Not gonna get much more than that, though. So, you know, job done. Worked through all the bonus. Didn't get as much as they'd want. SMB do maintain the lead as well. Gonna be popping themselves up to 8-7. But now we're getting to the meat of things.
And the other thing to consider here is SMB don't really lose that. It's the one weapon out. Brave, again, who seems to just be the fastest breach ultimate charger in all the land.
It's impressive.
Yeah,
right?
I am actually impressed. It's online again. Only 15 and 10, so just considering the number of times he's had it online is crazy to me. But it'll be pivotal here. For SMB. Positioned over towards C initially, so no real set piece. Starts things off here, and G2 are actually going to stack up pretty heavily. SMB are going to walk mid, so they're going to find key information.
Oh yeah.
At the start of this round.
It's on Avova. And he's still going to be the safety net that they need. And the Volp as well. SMB could have crumbled this G2 approach if they'd managed to maybe slip that timing right, pinch around it. But man, side at Brave and Glove is not feeling so nice now.
Second trap wire dealt with. So both players in spawn noted here. You know they have the freedom to potentially take this engagement with Brave, actually. At least challenge him here. They don't necessarily want to overstep the mark. Brave will fall. No, it's a double flank now.
Yeah, this is when all eyes come in turn to the side. And yeah, Cider does get one. That's not bad. Gets the second. Lovely, but he's left on 10 HP. So the feasibility of this round is near on 0. And Kellogg's creeping
It's
round.
the worst way to die, just from the crab walk.
Just the animation looks terrible.
Yeah, it does.
It really does.
Looks even worse on Chamber.
Oh, the leggy character.
You got to question this second, because the spacing's off, right? Izzy and Zisto both have to walk down. They're not spaced effectively to peak the same angle. The point at which Izzy falls Zistao, I mean, you can tuck yourself into window. At least give some sort of contingency to the walk of mid, right? At that point, they almost know it's an A here. They must know it's an A here with where Evova's positioned.
It's very telling, absolutely. And it looks like they're falling away from this. Is this instantly a retake? They're not really trying to get in their faces particularly. You can see what they've got to work
Brave
with.
just flashed the Rolling Thunder as well. You consider he's now walking towards the smoke, so I don't think he's going to post it. But maybe now.
That shouldn't have been what it was, but yeah, you're right. A little bit of feasibility to the round, and away we go. Gonna at least allow them to drop down, try and close the gap. But Meadow stands his ground, gonna get 2 even while the vision was looking worse for wear. Probably does come in, and Evova, this guy is just so good at hitting some of these lurks. Buying himself time, patience. Actually only gets him 1 at this point. Out of those 2 remaining players, as now Hoodie has to deal with, but look at the HP. This now took a beating in that scenario. Tommy doing what he can. And there it is. A little bit of flak gonna come on through, and Hoodie's done well enough. It got dangerous, to be fair, considering the investment that SMB had that round. It should not have been that close.
I think, actually, there's a little bit of a set piece there. Zistao sent a nano swarm from A-Link into the corner of Long. You can see the death marker here, just on the corner of Long. It actually catches Nookie. That is disgusting. As a cringe joy main, I mean, I love it, but it is disgusting nonetheless. Because the Rolling Thunder, you know they're going to retreat down Long. Ultimately, that stun comes through. They can't really get out of that. So, of that little bit, I'm sure Lothar's smiling somewhere in the green room watching that. G2 coming to everything but the Hunter's Fury. SMB have to stop this now. This is one of those snowball rounds for G2. They can throw a couple of these ultimates in. Might not even be necessary with an opening like that from Hoodie.
Yeah, just bullying his way through. We need Izzy to come up with something. You said this was a player to keep your eyes on, right? He had to be able to stand tall to the task, and now this is where things can go really badly downhill. They're respecting him to an extent, but...
Massively. Send the Rolling Thunder
again,
in.
A massive... investment just to keep him under wraps. Too dangerous to peek without it. And there's the over-aggress from Kellogg's, and it catches Zistao perfectly. He didn't have a chance in that one. And this is a save.
Yeah. Straight away on the back of a neural theft. I mean, this scenario, pretty powerful to isolate Izzy into, as they know they can post the Rolling Thunder in. There's minimal risk to go through and clear him out. Because actually, the neural theft also shows that there's no trade possibility. There's nobody that can counter that push towards Izzy. Really well played by G2. It's going to put them 2 rounds up here. And I think it is, well, unless the Blade Storm's there, I didn't note it in the previous round. It's a very tough round for SMB to concede now. With G2 hitting double digits, it's more than likely they'll find 11.
And I think the way you phrased it being, this is kind of one of those momentum rounds of win the last one, and then they just come in with confidence again. And it shows. And I am glad to see they put so much just to taking Izzy out of the equation.
My mistake. So two ultimates here potentially to offset. They might even force around this, honestly. I mean, we've seen it previously. You can question some of the previous purchases from SMB, but here I think it's really important, A, to force some investment from G2 out in terms of the ultimates. You have to take them off. You have to. Because in these buy rounds, if G2 come in with that advantage where they can just trade off and, you know, everybody just hits X and it's like, yeah, secure this round. It doesn't matter because, you know, throw every ultimate in. We know we break the money. Here, SMB need to play that to advantage. They need to have one of those rounds, or at least draw it out of G2. It would be a disaster here for G2 to win this round and not have to invest in these, because they are playmakers, right? It's Cosmic Divide, it's Hunter's Fury. Blade Storm as well will offset that purchase.
But it's that balance, right, that I'm seeing from G2 right now. It's like part of them is exuding confidence and aggression and, you know, momentum, but then also being fastidious in ways that they'll still, you know, pay so much attention to when it comes to dealing with a certain pressure point or a certain player. I still really like the balance that we're seeing from them, and SMB are going as far as they can here. You can see the depth when it shows, right? You know, Glove on these mad flanks coming in, that's perfect. They're making G2 have to pay attention to every aspect, but we are seeing G2 now right through on that a little bit. We are seeing them kind of actually meet them on these challenges. But for now, we go back in and looking at the purchase. two rifles, which were kept over, but we do see Izzy with that Blade Storm.
Here.
There's not enough. There's not enough he can do in this scenario, I don't feel. Again, they're going to push into spawn. They should have a good read. This is either C or mid.
Yeah, and you can see the comms coming out from Kellogg's. The go C essentially. Like that's a lot of players noted on that A long push, even off the back of minimal contact from it. So that's a spike plant. That's at least timing now on your side. And the problem is that we know that it's two players, maybe actually no, excuse me, three players who are well equipped. Zistao and Cider aren't coming into this with a great deal in comparison. So you have to see how they can maybe facilitate for the others, because this could be a full-on 5v5 retake.
Izzy actually gets on pretty close to a Meadow, guarding that dash.
Oh, and Hoodie's there by his side as well. Brave's gone down, leaving two of the players who are a little worse equipped, and Meadow's just bombing away on the site. And I like the attempt from SMB to try and pull in Izzy into play, but G2 read it very quickly. You saw that call coming out from Kellogg, sending the others straight in towards C. No second guessing, instantaneous springboard. And now the purchase, it looks okay. It still looks functional coming into this next round.
Sure, and I'm not sure what they could have pulled together. Obviously, a little bit of investment with utility and whatnot, but gaps here to show Glove got to sacrifice a full shield. Make sure his utility's on board. Is he actually going to throw an operator in the mix? Lockdown available, Hunter's Fury available. And the problem being, Nuki has his Hunter's Fury, and Hoodie's there. He's going to have his Aftershock as well. Zistao can't lean back on this. Like I said, they can't pin something around playing retake on a site. It's almost like in that previous there, where it was a retake onto C. I would have been okay with the lockdown, because it draws the Hunter's Fury out. It's one less thing they have to worry about in the next. Well, you got to worry about Nuki.
Get out of my way.
Decapitating Izzy on A-Long as well. See,
add it to the checklist.
This just isn't it. Here, this lockdown. It's just not. Zero value.
No, it doesn't do enough anymore, I don't think. It does catch him off guard. Meadow to fight out a little bit here. Some space. The overplays in, finds one, but it's going to be SMB doing so well this time. They're all down to Nuki, but this man can come up with some magic sometimes. A tap on the spike will draw him forward. He finds one. Tucks himself safely just away from the peak from long. He actually wants to go back on it, but Cider quick on that peak himself. He knew the Nuki was starting to gain that control, and he didn't want any of that. SMB still alive and kicking at 9 rounds.
And a little bit of an oversight. Cider actually unnoted on short there on G2's approach. Whether or not that was just because of the pace of it, maybe actually I'm questioning the value of that lockdown. Maybe it just distracts them enough. You know, there's an audible call where, you know, everybody has to turn and potentially stop that push back out from spawn. But Cider X backstabbing that execution from G2. Operator saved across it. Izzy will have it again. I mean, unable to find anything in the previous. It almost just, again, a lack of respect to the operator shown by G2.
Nowhere to run.
Just very posted here from Nuki, and it's going to find Glove.
Fair enough, Nuki.
He's used his drone. I didn't even see the tag come through there. It was off screen, but in response, Hunter's Fury posted. Actually, will find a lot more value. Actually, the double tag and the confirm onto Meadow. Zistao will find Nuki as well. So, man advantage here for SMB. Might be able to pull this one off.
You can see this presence. I want to see how much... Oh, the timing on that. Avova gets caught in the heels, and that just tilts things instantly in favor, and it gives us way this huge idea of intent, right? As soon as you see that, you know the lean was towards that A site. And Cider plays a little too close to the wire there. Going to lose life to Hoodie. Still 3v2. Kellogg's. Not this time. Izzy's got your number.
Tries to throw a shoulder, and it's punished. Hoodie 30 HP now. Oh, Izzy actually just unscoped at the wrong moment, but still finds it. And a nice round from SMB.
Really
Again, drawing
nice.
out the final, I guess, ultimate in the toolbox here for G2. They do still have the Cosmic Divide, actually. Oversight there. Hoodie back on the Rolling Thunder, soon to be. A timeout called. Economy still in an okay place for G2, but 2 important victories for SMB. Like I said, drawing out some of that snowball potential in terms of the ultimates being invested on the side of G2. Now it's crunch time. I mean, one more round will break G2's money. Tie things up for SMB in a real shot at putting themselves on map point. Vice versa. I think actually, 3 survived, 2 from the... Well, and actually 1 from the previous. It was only Cider that saved the op in the previous. So you look at the money here and it's... Yeah, it's actually a little flaky on the side of SMB. They lose this. It's not a full purchase. It'll be a force. It'll be Bulldog, Spectres to back things up. And with Izzy coming into this with 3,800, yeah, there will be a chance for an operator. But do you sacrifice a second rifle for that? That's the crux of it.
That's the question they're going to have to face. And at 11 to 10, you don't want to become too obsequious almost to try and make up for it. So
actually dropping out the weapon here, yeah, there won't be an operator
yeah,
the next.
No
Bladestorm either.
4K. Okay. I mean, he's there for the team, right? But let's see if that does have any knock-on effect. But you got to bank on it working out. And Izzy instantly to business. Waiting for that full